Is that it? We did it. Let's go, credits. All right, let's talk about the ups and downs of Mafia Definitive Edition, shall we? Okay, so let's start here. I went into this expecting like a GTA-like, you know? And that's not what this is at all. It doesn't have any of the sandbox flavor of GTA. It's a lot more linear. It's a lot more straightforward as far as the campaign path. I can imagine some people might not like that because the open world aspect isn't really there in the same way. The side content isn't there in the same way. But as someone who usually plays through the main path only anyway, I usually prefer that because that means all of the focus and attention is on the main path and it's better for it usually. So I really liked that. The high points of this game are as follows. First of all, the story is incredible. It's one of the best stories I've ever experienced in any game. It is amazing, and I'm not a big story guy. Its story is not even on my top 5 list of things that are important to me in games. But the story was so good, and the game is so story-driven that it's impossible not to get caught up in the story and to feel for the characters. And on top of that, the story was helped by the fact that the voice acting is great, the writing is very, very good, the art, the direction, the art direction, the cinematography, the cutscenes, the way the cutscenes are put together and seamlessly woven in with the gameplay, all that stuff was so on point. It was so good. I did about halfway through the game just pull up some gameplay of the original just to see, because I didn't know how much they changed, and it's very different. The voice actors are different. The lines are mostly the same, but they're punched up a little bit. And the scenes are shot for shot pretty much. They seem to be about the same, but they're just redirected, you know, like they've done a better direction job, a better editing job. The voice acting is better. The writing overall seems like it's better. It's just an improvement across the board. So yeah, this game didn't remind me of GTA at all. Actually, the game that it reminded me of the most, it's kind of its own thing. It's not really, as far as I can think of, as far as all the 525 games that I've beaten, it doesn't really remind me specifically of anything, but the game that it reminded me of the most was actually Mass Effect, because it has this incredible story woven in with, oh, okay, suddenly it's gameplay. All right, now I got to kill all these guys and get through this area, or sneak through this area, or you know, shoot my way through X, you know, and yada yada. And then, okay, more cutscenes, more story. Obviously, it doesn't have like all the RPG elements or the relationship management or the sci-fi bend or any of that stuff, but the story interwoven with the action reminded me a little bit of Mass Effect. So, and that's not a bad thing. And the gameplay was all really good too. I mean, it's not anything really. It's funny because I was saying earlier, it's not like the combat is super tight or the driving is like the best or anything like that. But the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The way that this game mashes together story with the combat, with the driving, and with like the tail missions and the random sneaking missions and things like that, and kind of just weaves it all together. It creates this package that A, I haven't quite seen before, and B, is just incredibly well done. And I'm really glad that I played the definitive edition, because I'm sure that if I'd played it in 2002, I might have enjoyed it just as much, but playing it now, I don't think I would have. There's just a way, when it comes to the cinematic element, the better graphics, the better voice acting, the better direction and cinematography is just going to elevate that story to a degree that was impossible in 2002. So I'm glad that I played the definitive edition. As far as critiques, I'm not sure I have a 1. I guess maybe there were a couple of times that I was mildly disappointed that there were some big turning point decisions that the character has to make at certain points in the story. And it's almost like it was originally intended to be a game where you make those choices, and then they pivoted from that. Because in the story, baked into the story, are these moments where the main character has to make this very big decision 3 or 4 times in the story, and you don't know which way it's going to go. And I thought, oh, is the game going to let me decide? And then Tommy would just make the decision for me. And I was mildly disappointed at that the first time, but that's not really a critique, because that's working as intended. The game made a choice. It's not going to be that kind of a game. We're not going to have like multiple endings. You know, I got the ending that I got, and I have no doubt that it's the only ending in the game, because what would they base anything off of? I never made a single choice. You know, it's just not that kind of game. And so, you know, that element might have made things a little bit more interesting, but it's hard to really hold that against the game, because that they made that choice. That's the choice that they made. It's just not that kind of game. I might as well not, you know, critique it for not having good boss fights. You know, it's just not that kind of game. It doesn't have boss fights. It's just not that kind of game. So that's not really a critique. Honestly, when I think of like perfect games, like this one feels like it's pretty close to perfect, because I can't really think of anything that really pissed me off. It wasn't even glitchy. Like there wasn't anything really out of place. The game was very, very well put together and kind of perfectly made. And the story took some turns and twists. And I was guessing, I bet this person's going to betray me. I bet this person's going to die. I bet this person's going to yada yada. And I was wrong every time. I was wrong about everything. The game took the story in directions I never expected every single time. So now, does that mean it's going to rank in the top 50? Probably not. Although I wouldn't put it out of that. I wouldn't necessarily say it's not going to fall in that, because it was an excellent game. The only thing that would keep this game from the super, super high God tier rankings is that it's not in the 2 or 3 genres that I love the most, like horror, survival horror, and Souls-likes, and a couple others. But it's great in a game in a way that like Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War Ragnarok or something is great, or Ghost of Tsushima. You know, it's like it's not a Souls-like, it's not a roguelike, it's just an action adventure. And it was really good at that. It was really, really good at that. So I loved it. I don't actually have a really actual solid critique. I can't think of one. So well done. All right. Last couple orders of business. The bottom center of the screen says that we've beaten 78 games in 2024 and 525 since we started doing this in 2020. Those numbers are lying to you. We have now played and beaten 79 games in 2024 and 526 since we started doing this in 2020. Let's go. Oh, whoops. I went to the wrong screen. It doesn't matter. All right. Last thing here. Mafia Definitive Edition. Wow, what an excellent game. I really was blown away. I was very impressed. I was not expecting so much from this game. But all that aside, we are now going to delete you from our console and never play you again. Bye. Appreciate ya. Good job.